Hey guys, I'm Nikita.
I'm Katherine, and welcome to another episode of
Dr. LDR. So today we want to focus on kind of making that initial decision to do LDR and transitioning to it, and I guess for Katherine's experience, transitioning out of an LDR. Yeah, so I guess in the beginning, it's a choice you have to make, right? For us, it was like our decision was focused around transitioning from like being in the same place.
Yeah.
And then making the decision to start a long distance relationship. When I started dating my boyfriend, I knew I was going to med school in the future and most likely Texas, but I took a gap year before med school, so I had some time before I was even going to apply, let alone figure out where I was. But I already kind of had the knowledge that I was probably going to be in Texas, and he was not in Texas, so I guess I wasn't really actively thinking when are we going to be in the same place? But, I had put my medical education first, I guess then. And
as you should.
Yeah. And so I applied to schools in California, and obviously if I had gotten into a school in California and it was a good opportunity and I'd weighed whatever the pros and cons, maybe I would have chosen that. So I did apply to schools there, but in the end, what worked out was a school in Texas. And that was kind of something that was already, in my head, and, he already knew that too. So, again, while there is some choice and some freedom, it's limited, I guess. So I faced that one crossroad time, from going from college to med school, and at these pivotal times is probably most often when people are deciding to do long distance.
Yeah.
For us, especially as people in medicine, we face a lot of these pivotal moments. For you, it's a little bit different now, I guess, as you're facing that crossroad.
Yeah. I mean, we've been dating now for 6 years.
Yeah.
And then we transitioned into LDR from high school to college. So all of college for me was spent in LDR. And yeah, it's different now, but back then, literally the only thing I based my decision on was, we had broken up for about a month or so. I just kind of went into UT thinking I would have a fresh start. I could focus on myself, focus on my academics and joining clubs, meeting people. But then in the back of my mind, you start dating a person because you really like them and you're attracted to them. And I kind of always just felt that we really had something going.
Sure,
and I really wanted to keep this.
And it wasn't a breakup because there was a problem or a difference of opinion, things were good. So by breaking up, you still felt that the relationship was you missed it basically.
That was definitely what hurt the most, knowing that distance was what broke us up. And I was very idealistic back then, but I kept saying to him, I was like this is not a good enough reason for me.
Yeah.
If distance is able to break us up, there's gonna be down the line, there's gonna be problems even bigger than distance.
Right.
And it just doesn't it kind of made our earlier months of the relationship almost feel invalidated, because I was if distance is enough to break us up, what was even the thread that kept us together before distance came in?
Right. Yeah.
And I think if I made the choice now, I was young and naive back then, and that choice was really heavily fueled by just what I was feeling at the time, my emotions. I was sad.
Yeah.
So I was in order to not feel this way, I need to rekindle.
It's very simple. I'm sad. How do I not be sad?
Exactly. If sad, then don't be sad.
That sounds like some coding commands or something, an if
then statement. That is literally, I just finished my SAS final last night. I see that.
Got coding on your brain. Yeah. There's a decision or a time coming up where we are closing the distance to some degree, as we started dating longer, and we realized that this was a goal to first close the distance from California to wherever I was to now being in the same state. And that's actually that's a big deal. We will be in the same time zone and a drive apart, not a flight. So for me, it's just working towards that goal first, and then I guess this is far away, but residency, that's going to be another one of those crossroads moments.
Yeah.
But I think at that point I'll be where you were currently, where it's there's not really any question of are we going to stay together, or are we going to continue to this plot twist. But it's more of I honestly will expect him to follow me where I go, and this is something we talked about a lot, and while it's still early Like I don't necessarily know what specialty I'm interested in or like what city has the best program and stuff like that. Like we've talked about like cities that we want to live in and you know, like the places that might be best for like his career and things like that. So like as we get to that moment, like obviously we'll have these conversations again, but that will be like I'll be where you are now currently, I think, by then. So yeah, that's just another crossroads that we will face.
It's so nice that that like the respective hubs for tech, which is the field that our boyfriends are in, versus medicine, couldn't be more different.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know, like,
or I guess SF is like a place where they can collide.
Yeah.
Seattle, sort of.
Yeah, it's not like super big, but
yeah. But I mean, Texas is a great place to be for medicine, especially Houston. You brought up a great point about just following the other person, and that was something that I had to do right after I graduated from college. So Billy already got a job in Seattle, the hub. So I knew that was exactly where he needed to be for starting his career basically after college. And at that point I decided to take a gap year before I went to med school. So I was kind of more flexible, and obviously with me being in that position, it was on me to give and to like kind of make a sacrifice. Obviously I'm from Houston. Houston's med center is incredible. I grew up here. And if I really wanted to be selfish and like focus on me, then the best decision for med school probably would have just been to stay here, and I have mentors here. I didn't have to work I wouldn't have to work as hard if I stayed here to kind of establish myself and get projects. But obviously I decided to go to Seattle. I found a great job that was related to my thesis research, but obviously I don't know anyone in Seattle, and I was working at the University of Washington. I mean, at the end of the day, like Seattle is an incredibly amazing and also very livable city. So it wasn't painful to move to Seattle. Oh, I guess minus the weather. Holy shit.
But actually that brings me to an interesting point. I actually like totally forgot about this, but so when I was applying for things to do during my gap year, like obviously I was like, it would be nice to be in California, like where Smith is. And like I applied to positions in San Francisco and in California, and I remember I actually got a job in San Francisco. It was like,
I didn't know this.
It wasn't like a medical related thing. It was like a, I don't even remember what it was, but it was like very barely healthcare related. And it was like not a great job at all. Like it wouldn't have helped me in terms of med school. It just like wasn't the best opportunity. And I remember the job I think was originally like in a different city. And I like asked if I could be considered for the San Francisco team. And so I was like trying, but the opportunity was just like it wouldn't have contributed to my career in any way, really. So I made the decision to turn it down, and then like where I ended up being was DC, which is like so far away.
Opposite coast.
So I guess I was selfish in that regard by like choosing my career, but I mean, you know, again, like we made it work, and like I am so glad that I took that opportunity and ended up there. And just for me, like it, you know, it just didn't work out that I was able to go to the same city, but like if things were different, like I could have made that decision to like, you know, compromise my career, I guess.
But I think it is fair to be selfish, because with our boyfriends, like they already had, or in some sense, they already started their careers. They had at least their first stage locked down. We're really nothing. When graduating undergrad, like we have to get into med school in order to begin our careers. Otherwise, what the hell do we do with life science majors?
And I mean, I think like my gap year job has like contributed a lot to like my clinical knowledge, and probably boosted my application for med school, even though I applied like
totally
I pretty much like had applied before, but like I did get asked about it during interviews, so it was a contributor. And like you said, like it, you know, it's still like a career first kind of time in my life back then. So you know, I made that decision, but you know, like no hard feelings or anything, like clearly it worked out. But just like an interesting tidbit, I guess.
It's kind of funny that my LDR kind of pales in comparison to yours. This is how I think about it, because we only did Houston to Austin, and I had cars, I was driving, but you went from like medium LDR to like long big LDR. Boy LDR, from flying to the opposite coast. I can't even imagine.
Which I guess well, you guys did LDR for 4 years, and I think that's probably how long we'll be doing LDR for more. But like when he moves to Austin in like a year or two, then
it'll get a little better.
It'll get better, but it'll also have been like 4 years of like the like different
The
state
coast.
LDR thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's fine. Like, it is what, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not salty. I'm actually not. I'm fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess now you have transitioned out of a long distance relationship and you guys are in the same place, and COVID has helped contribute to that.
Yeah, so for us, so we stopped being long distance when I made the choice to move to Seattle. And I was like, look at, like, I'm such a humanitarian. Look at me, altruistic being, moving like 2,000 miles.
All for you.
Exactly, yeah. And we didn't know anyone in Seattle.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone professionally or even personally.
Mm-hmm. Scary.
Yeah, so we were moving completely like by ourselves to a new city.
Did you ever feel like, I don't know how to put this in
Like
words.
forced?
No, not forced, but like,
Okay.
did you ever feel like he owed something to you because like you were doing that? Like, did you ever feel like
I was making a big commitment?
Yeah, like I'm not wording this very well, but like, did you feel like, oh, I'm making a sacrifice? Like, you know, like I don't know, man, it's all gonna be cut out. I can't like formulate my words, but like
I kind of get what you're saying.
yeah, just like basically like, how did you feel about like, you know, making such a big decision and like being the one who was making the move and like making kind of a sacrifice? What were your like thoughts associated with that?
Yeah, so I think like living situation wise and personally, I didn't feel as if he owed me anything or I was like one step ahead of him because I knew we're good at sharing chores. I don't know if he'll say the same thing, but we're good at kind of like working or splitting things up and just like making sure what gets done around the house needs to get done.
Yeah.
But professionally, I did feel like at least some disconnect at the beginning. It was a good thing that my research job that I found in Seattle was an incredible opportunity. Had it not been like amazing, I think I definitely would have felt a little cheated because like I said, I have a pretty substantial network of mentors established here in Houston, and I was just kind of leaving all that behind to follow a boy.
Right, yeah.
And the part of me that's like really prideful on like career and academics, I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, why am I throwing maybe even a chance of getting into med school away?
Yeah.
But because it was a good opportunity for my application to med school, and also just it kind of like at the time I was still interested in doing neuroimaging. I've always been into kids, so at the time it was a really good way to marry my two interests together. And the fact that I found it in the same city as him, like that was just kind of like cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's good.
But I guess even though I felt that, like there is a sense where Seattle is the place for him to be to start his career, whereas when you think medicine, it's not Seattle. So in that respect, I was like, well, why am I sacrificing my career for his? But when I kind of took a step back and looked at it, like I was in a gap year, and it's not like every part of my future career rests on what I do in that gap year. As long as I did something that I enjoyed and also was relatively along the lines of increasing my applicant profile and also furthering my skills in research, it like my job checked off all those boxes.
Yeah.
So when I thought about it that way, it was fine. Like there's always going to be sacrifice in the doctor journey.
Sure, yeah.
Always. And delayed gratification is just something that we have to sit with and be okay with. And Seattle did teach me a lot of that. But and also when you're living together, it's supposed to be like a happy time in your life. You're not supposed to like churn with like
there's no like spite
envy.
or anything like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So but now on the flip side, since we're both in Houston now, and he's working remotely, and he probably will continue to work remotely when I start med school in July. So it's now flipped to me. Like I'm the one whose career is governing where I move. So it's the burden has shifted to him, which I'm very glad for. If he wants to move, and he's from the start, he's always been like, yes, I will follow you. And right now I'm probably going to Kansas City, which it's not a terrible city. Well, obviously it's not Seattle. Like Seattle's an amazing city to live in.
Yeah.
And I feel a little bit of guilt for being like, it's up to like you have to follow me to Timbuktu in the Midwest.
Well, I think it's nice that our significant others both work in tech and have more flexibility than we do. And like I don't, there's always some sort of like guilt involved, but like I think it's just it works in our favor that somebody has more flexibility. And even though it may sound like kind of harsh, I guess. Like they knew that like we were entering careers in medicine where there's limited flexibility, so it's something that they kind of signed up for in a way, you know. As like bad as that sounds, but you know, like if somebody was like not about that, then you know that may be a factor into like deciding not to date someone, or like again back to what we started talking about, like that choice of doing long distance. If someone like didn't want to do long distance because somebody in the relationship has less flexibility, then you know then they make that choice. But for us, you know, it was obviously a consideration, and like will continue to be a consideration on our boyfriend's ends about moving to where we are, given that we have less flexibility, and you know they have decided to do that. So you know it's their decision, right? Like it's like on them sort of thing. So
yeah, honestly, like if you think about it, choice isn't just like at the beginning when you choose doing LDR, you also kind of have to choose to get out of it as well.
Yeah.
Like unless you're really lucky and you just happen to like have a good ending point for the LDR.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna have to actively choose to move to be with the other person, or you both move and like meet in the middle.
Yeah.
But no matter what, kind of the way I see it is that like
someone's gonna
bend for the other person.
Yeah.
And I guess that kind of goes to like what even made me do an LDR or choose an LDR back in high school, was that when I thought about it, like I had always known I wanted to be a doctor. So when I viewed it in high school, I was like, it's not just going to be high school to college, or we might be in different locations. Like in 4 years time, we're going to be in med school and then residency. And also if you meet someone in college, what are the chances that both of you are from the same hometown? Like what's going to happen during breaks? Like distance in some way, shape, or form, I feel is inevitably going to be a component in a relationship, regardless of where you met, how you met, or like where both of you live. At some point in time, someone's going to like go on a business trip for like a couple months, maybe someone, you might both be in school, you go home for family breaks, sure you can go together, but at some point you're not always going to spend like every the majority of the year together.
There's always going to be distance, and there's always going to be choices associated with that. So
I guess the biggest takeaway is that like there's always going to be choice, and as long as both of you are on the same page, you can make choices that benefit yourself the most and also benefit the relationship the most as well. So
well, with that, I guess we wrap up this episode. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or ideas for future episodes, you can drop it in the comments below. I feel so fake saying that.
All right, see you guys next time.
Bye.